jobs. While the FMLA was a major step forward, we still have a long way to go if we want to ensure America's working families receive the basic supports that we all need. That's why all of us are here united today. We believe that every worker should have the right to earn 7 paid sick days and 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave. It's absurd that we don't have these safeguards already. We're the only industrialized country on earth without these protections. Right now, nearly 105 million Americans lack access to paid leave, including more than 90% of our country's lowest paid workers. And we know that people of color, especially women of color, suffer the most as a result of our country's dismal care infrastructure. This isn't a partisan issue, since a strong majority of American people, regardless of political party, support these policies. That's because paid sick days and paid family and medical leave are good for our workers, good for our families, good for our communities, good for business, and good for our entire economy. The time to fix this is now. I want to thank all of the incredible leaders and advocates here today who are working to make this happen, and I'm going to hand the microphone over to Representative Rosa DeLauro, our tireless champion.
Thank you. Wow. How's that, Senator? Look at this crowd. And I have to say a very big thank you to Senator Sanders. I know we are on the Senate side of the Capitol, and the protocol would be to start with the senator, but he's been very courteous since I have to get to a markup at 10 o'clock. So thank you, my dear friend. So it's wonderful to be with all of you, and Sharita, thank you for your work, and to Senator Sanders, and I know Senator Murray is going to be here, Senator Gillibrand, and I understand Leader Schumer will be here, but to all the advocacy groups as well. I see you, Dawn, Moms Rising, A Better Balance, the 28 Days Project, the National Nurses United, the Brotherhood of Signalmen, and Paid Leave for All. The gang's all here. The gang is all here, my friends. And you know, you are the wind beneath our wings. You really are. Thank you so much. Today, we all know this. Families all know this. People live paycheck to paycheck, sacrificing priorities in their personal and their families' lives to keep food on the table and to keep lights on. People need financial stability. They need the security to know that they can take care of themselves or they can take care of a loved one. Not only be guaranteed their job, but wage replacement as well. 30 years ago, we broke ground by establishing unpaid family and medical leave. So today, let us break ground again and make it paid leave for all. Currently, as Sharita pointed out, the United States does not guarantee workers a single paid sick day. Many are not even entitled under law to unpaid time. The U.S. is the only industrialized nation that does not give workers access to a national paid family and medical leave program. It's a disappointing fact that leaves our nation ill-equipped to compete in a global economy. I'm so proud to really stand with all of you today as we continue the fight. A number of years ago, there wouldn't have been all these folks here today, but we've made it a center of our public discourse to move this country for a national paid family and medical leave programs, and that's what our direction is. Well, we have to keep fighting for that, and these are policies that are at the center of the work that I've tried to do, and I know Senator Sanders has done for all of his professional career. Now is the most important time for us to be engaged in this fight. No worker should be forced to make an impossible choice between keeping their job and taking care of their loved ones or taking care of themselves. Failure to address these issues will have long-lasting consequences for opportunity for generations to come. We will continue to push, and I will just tell you, your voices are so important. You've got a lot of support on the inside with members, with leadership in the House and in the Senate. But what moves this institution is external pressure. You are the external pressure. Make your voices heard. True things. You make your voices heard, and we do not take no for an answer. The time is now to do this. Thank you for letting me be with you here today. To all the advocates, keep up the great work. Thank you very, very much. Sharita, Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so excited to welcome Senator Sanders to give some remarks.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you very much for the work that you do. And the time is long overdue for the Congress to begin listening to the needs of working families, struggling people, and not just big money interests. I want to thank Sharita Gruberg. Thank you very much for all the good work that you have done. Jean Ross, Sherry Lawance, and Mike Baldwin, who's president of the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen. Let me also thank Rachel Shelton, a former educator and advocate for Moms Rising, who was forced to leave her role as a teacher in Asheville, North Carolina, because of her lack of access to paid sick leave. Can you believe that? We lose teachers because she doesn't have access to paid sick leave. Last but not least, let me thank Karina Garcia of the Glamour 28 Days Paid Leave Project, who returned to work, listen to this, just 6 days after the birth of her daughter because she did not have access to paid family leave. You know, we hear here in Washington a lot of talk about family values. You hear that talk? Well, let me give you my perspective on what family values means to me and what it means to our country. When a mother like Karina cannot spend time with a newborn baby during the first weeks and months of her baby's life and is forced back to work, that is not a family value. That is an attack on everything that a family is supposed to stand for. When a wife is diagnosed with cancer and a husband cannot take time off of work to take care of her, that is not a family value. That is an attack on everything that a family is supposed to stand for. When a working mom, and it's clear we have a lot of working moms here this morning, is forced to send her sick child to school because she cannot afford to stay home with that baby, that child, that is not a family value. That is an attack on everything that a family is supposed to stand for. Let us be very clear. In terms of protecting the needs of our families, the United States of America, the richest country in the history of the world, lags far behind virtually every other major country on earth. We are the only major country that doesn't guarantee a single day of paid sick days or paid family and medical leave. That is an outrage, and together we are going to end that. And we can do that by guaranteeing at least 7 paid sick days and at least 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave to every worker in America. That is not a radical idea. That is less than most major countries are doing right now. At a time of record-breaking corporate profits and exorbitant CEO pay, the idea that the richest country in the history of the world cannot guarantee paid leave for its workers is an international embarrassment. Today is the time to end that embarrassment, and that is why I'm proud to introduce with some of my great colleagues right here the Healthy Families Act, which would guarantee 7 days of paid sick leave to workers in our country, and our proud co-sponsor, Senator Gillibrand's legislation to guarantee 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave is going to be brought up as well. Just a few months ago, here's some good news. The American people were outraged to learn that rail workers, people who do difficult and dangerous work, were not guaranteed one day of paid sick leave. People all over this country and the unions stood up and fought back, and now 50,000 rail workers are guaranteed up to 7 days. So brothers and sisters, we've got a lot of work to do to make this Congress start responding to the needs of our children, of our workers, of our parents. Let's go out and do it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to welcome to the microphone our Family Act co-sponsor, Senator Gillibrand.
Well, I want to thank Senator Sanders, Senator Murray, Rosa DeLaura. These are incredible champions who have been fighting for this for the entire time I've been in the Senate and in Congress. So they don't give up, and they're not giving in, and they're going to keep fighting really hard. Paid family leave should be a national priority because our families should be a national priority. Our families are our fundamental drivers of this economy and the well-being of our families and children. Our children are our future. So if we are not investing in them, we are not investing in our future. I want to thank everyone who is here today and the fact that these advocates have worked together to come around these two pieces of legislation which would be transformative. I want to thank the rail workers. How many rail workers do we have here? Thank you. Give it up for our rail workers. Do we have any nurses in the house? Do we have any nurses in the house? Do we have any kids in the house? How many families are here who are ready to fight for paid leave? All of us. Imagine if we had had national paid leave during the pandemic. Imagine how many parents could have stayed home with their children and still been employed and still received their paycheck. It would have been transformative. People wouldn't have had the 5 million women who had to leave their jobs and leave the workforce wouldn't have happened. It would have had a much more beneficial effect, not only to our families, but to our economy. It would have had very different outcomes. The United States is the only developed country in the world without national paid leave. It's a drag on our economy. It means that people risk losing their jobs when they have to make the heart-wrenching decisions. Like, do I stay with my mother as she's dying? Or do I stay at work and put food on the table for my children? Do I stay home with a spouse or a child who's sick? Or do I keep working so they can have the medications they need to treat that sickness? Those are the real life and death choices that families are literally making every day without basic paid leave. We know that paid leave works. It's worked in California, it's worked in New York, it's worked right here in DC. All the research shows is that it increases employee retention, increases employee productivity, it helps businesses and communities succeed. So what are we waiting for? We need to keep fighting for the Family Act as the most important national priority, the most important economic investment we can make, the most important investment we can make in our children and in our future. So will we give up? No. Will we keep fighting? Yes. Will we fight for our teachers? Yes. Will we fight for our older Americans? Yes. Will we fight for our rail workers? Yes. Will we fight for our nurses? Yes. And will we fight for our moms? Yes. So let's get this done. Let's pass the Family Act.
Hi. I am so excited to welcome a tireless champion for families, Senator Murray.
Thanks so much. Thank you, and thank you to Senator Gillibrand, who's an amazing partner to work with. Thank you to all of you for being here today. And we are here today because no one should have to choose between taking care of themselves and their family and being able to make ends meet. It's so simple, and it really is so long overdue. When you are facing the grief and pain of caring for a seriously ill child, or sitting in a hospital with a seriously ill parent, or coping with a cancer diagnosis, you should not be worried about how you're going to make next month's rent or by taking unpaid time off from work. When you're welcoming a new member to your family or recovering after giving birth, facing all the joys and challenges of those first weeks with a newborn, one of those challenges should not be how quickly you have to get back to the office. And when you are a survivor of domestic violence, you should be able to prioritize ensuring your safety, securing legal protections, and seeking care without fearing that you have to return to work before you feel safe and ready. Anyone who's been in any of these situations knows they are hard. Here in Congress, we've got to be working to make it a little easier. We should be making sure that no one has to choose between their family and their job, their family and their paycheck, their well-being and their financial security. That is what the Healthy Families Act is all about. Finally, establishing paid sick, family, and medical leave for families all across the country. I think every one of my colleagues agrees. We've reintroduced these bills too many times. We need to get this done. We are going to work our tails off, and I know you're all with us, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You better believe we are going to be bumping paid leave to the top of our agenda and working with all of you, and we are determined to get this job done. Thank you for being at our back. Thank you so much.
All right, folks. Next up, I am so excited to welcome to the stage Rachel Shelton. We heard a little bit about her story, but excited to have her here talking to you all today about why these bills are so important. Rachel, take it away.
Woo! Yes, Rachel. Good morning. I'm Rachel Shelton. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm a proud member of Moms Rising and a mom of two, ages 4 and 7, who are here with me today. I'm part of the sandwich generation with young kids and aging parents. My husband and I own a small business, and now I work at a nonprofit. I'm here to say that it's past time we guarantee all working people the paid leave and paid sick days we need to care for our families and for ourselves. When I had my first child, I was a public school teacher. On paper, I had a reasonable amount of sick time, and I was grateful because many teachers don't. But I didn't get to use it for sick time because I had to use it as maternity leave. Like most workers in the United States, I had 0 paid leave for welcoming a new child, 0 paid leave for my family members, and 0 paid leave if I faced a medical emergency myself. When I gave birth, I took time off to recover from a C-section and bond with my baby, but it was unpaid. It's absurd that so many parents in this country lose their paychecks when a new baby arrives, which comes with so many high costs. I drained all of my sick time to maintain a little bit of income during that time. So when I returned to work, I didn't have any sick time left. And that was a huge challenge because let me tell you, babies get sick. Both of my boys had severe RSV infections when they were infants, which caused breathing problems their first few years of life. They needed a lot of hands-on care every time they had even a cold when they were young. When you're a teacher, someone has to be in your place for every minute that you are out of work. So there's a lot of pressure to not take any time off. And that's especially hard because so many teachers are also parents. It was incredibly stressful, and more so because we couldn't find affordable childcare, even though I had gotten on wait lists as soon as I found out I was pregnant. We relied on a patchwork of family and friends to care for our baby while we worked. When I was pregnant with my youngest, I still didn't have any paid leave. I still didn't have affordable childcare, and I was going to have to drain all that little bit of sick time again when I gave birth. I knew the situation wasn't sustainable, and I made the tough decision to leave my job. It was heartbreaking because I loved being a teacher, and I knew that my school was facing staffing shortages. It was years before I was able to return to the workforce. Shouldn't be this hard, y'all, to balance caregiving and work. We need Congress to pass the Family Act and guaranteed paid leave because we all deserve time to be with loved ones when we're needed most. We also need guaranteed paid sick days and safe days through the Healthy Families Act because no one should lose income to get well, stay well, or care for a sick child.
These are basic protections that every working person needs. They're also necessary to help our kids get a strong start. Working families like mine can't wait any longer for progress. This should be a top priority for every member of Congress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It is my privilege to hand the microphone over to one of my absolute favorite partners in this fight, Sherry Lowiant from the Better Balance.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sherry Lewant, and I am co-president and co-founder of A Better Balance, an organization that we founded to ensure that workers can care for themselves and their family members without risking their economic security. We also run a free clinic for workers in crisis, many of whom join us in advocating for better laws. Crystal, who is a youth worker for a nonprofit in Kentucky, really wanted to be here today to tell her story and why it is so important to have paid sick time. Unfortunately, Crystal isn't here because she contracted pneumonia and unfortunately is experiencing complications that put her in the hospital. So it's a crass reminder that because there's no right to paid sick time in this country, Crystal, whose one concern right now should be regaining her health, also has to worry about having no income and losing her job. So I'm proud to read Crystal's statement on her behalf, as she asked me to do. These are Crystal's remarks. My name is Crystal, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. When I was working as a youth counselor during the pandemic, I started experiencing COVID symptoms. My employer denied me emergency paid sick leave and told me to take unpaid leave under the FMLA. My quarantine period would have exhausted all of my FMLA time, which would have meant that I could have been fired for taking the full amount of time to quarantine that my doctor had recommended. I talked to A Better Balance, and thankfully I was able to receive the emergency paid sick time I was entitled to during that time in 2020, that brief time in 2020 I might add, when COVID sick time was available. But now that emergency paid sick time has expired, I'm back to having access to 0 paid sick days. I'm a community advocate with A Better Balance, and I speak out about my experience so that hopefully nobody is put in a position of having to weigh their health needs against keeping their job. Emergency paid sick time was a lifeline for me. Now we need to make paid sick leave a guaranteed right for workers across the country. I'm here today to celebrate the introduction of the Healthy Families Act and the Family Act, which will ensure that no worker is forced to go through what I had to go through. Thank you to our elected officials who are here today to champion those bills and support working families. The time is now to make paid sick days and paid family leave a reality for all workers. So we're praying for Crystal's recovery, her full recovery. Please keep Crystal in mind as we continue to fight for the paid sick time and paid family leave that all workers deserve. Thank you so much.
We are all hoping for her speedy recovery. Next up, I would like to welcome Karina Garcia from New York, who's been working with Glamour on the 28 Days Project.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your attendance. Last year, Glamour launched a campaign to advocate for paid family leave. This campaign followed the story of 8 women with varying access to paid leave for the first 28 days postpartum. I was one of those women. My husband and I saved for a year and a half to try to offset some of the cost of having a child. Despite this, I had to go back to work 6 days after giving birth to my daughter. I was not ready. I cannot take back that time. And I had no choice because I had no paid leave and we had bills to pay. Glamour's project may have been about 8 women, but it captured the struggles of all the women around this country after giving birth. A struggle like missing out on the beautiful chance of bonding with the brand new baby and needing time for physical and mental healing. All because of the lack of paid leave and all because of the all because of the lack of paid leave and job security thereafter. As a new mom, I am honored to represent so many of us who don't have the opportunity to tell their stories. So many of us who have to return to work almost immediately after giving birth because of financial necessity and lack of choice. Paid leave should not be a partisan decision. It is an investment in families. It is a social investment in the future, since the future shall be determined by our children. Thank you.
All right, y'all, it is my huge honor to introduce Leader Schumer, who just recently made sure that pregnant workers had the protections they needed to stay on the job and is not done fighting for all workers.
No, we have a lot to do for workers, and I want to thank first my colleagues who were here, Senators Murray and Sanders and Gillibrand and Congresswoman DeLauro. I want to thank the groups who were here, the National Partnership, the National Nurses United, Moms Rising, and the National Women's Law Center. Thank you all for your tireless advocacy for working families. We very much appreciate the job you're doing. Now, we're here today because in this country, in the 21st century, you shouldn't have to choose between taking care of your health and keeping a job. And yet 28 million workers are forced to make that decision when they get sick because they don't earn paid sick days. This is true for millions more who can't take off work to care for a sick child or family member, because if they leave to go to an appointment, pick up their son or daughter from school, they don't get a paycheck. The ramifications of this are significant. And the bottom line is simple. This is holding our country back in myriads, many, many ways. Democrats have long recognized that sick leave would offer families a chance at stability and comfort that is standard almost everywhere else in the world. In countries less wealthy, less developed than we are, it's there, but it's not here, and that's a disgrace. We've made progress last Congress, but we've got a ways to go. The Healthy Families Act and Families Act would mean all working families can have the job and economic security paid sick days provide. These bills means families could earn up to 7 job-protected paid sick days each year to be used to recover from their own illnesses, access preventative care, provide care to a sick family member, or attend meetings related to a child's health or disability. It protects workers who are survivors of domestic violence, stalking, or sexual assault by making it possible for them to use their paid sick days to recover and seek assistance. It makes sense. Employees should be able to accrue sick leave for hours worked. And this bill gives employers flexibility on how time is accrued. This is not an impossible dream. Sick leave would make an instant difference for millions, rural families, single parents, people of color especially. As Majority Leader, I fought tooth and nail to try to make sick leave for all a reality, and I will not stop until we get this done. Let's keep fighting, and we will win. Thank you, everybody.
I have absolutely no doubt we will win with this great crowd. Next up, it is my honor to introduce President Gene Ross, a 40-year registered nurse.
Excuse me, I left out our New York rail workers who were here.
Oh, yeah. Woo. Next up, we have President Gene Ross, co-president of the National Nurses Union.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be with all of you here today. My name is Jean Ross. I'm a registered nurse and president of National Nurses United, which is the largest union and professional association of registered nurses in the country. I'm also a mom of 5 living children, and I'm going to speak directly today about the importance of paid leave for families, workers, and our community's health. As a working parent, as a nurse, and as a union leader, I see the impact every day of ensuring that people in our communities have the time they need to care for their loved ones and for themselves. Nurses want what is best for patients, and that's why our union supports paid sick and family leave for all workers. Ensuring that our patients can take time off to recover from an illness or injury is a crucial part of ensuring that our communities stay safe and healthy. Nobody should have to choose between their health and their livelihood. As a nurse, I have seen the negative health consequences on patients when they are unable to take paid sick days. And nurses need paid sick days too. This was especially true during the COVID-19 pandemic, when so many nurses became ill. We've had to organize to fight for basic workplace protections, and it's only through our union contracts that we were able to negotiate paid sick leave for our members. But what about the nurses that don't have the protection of a strong union? When nurses can't take time off to care for themselves and their families, patients suffer. And when patients can't take time off to care for themselves and their families, they get sicker. As a profession, nursing is still 90% female. And as a mom, I know how critical it is for working mothers to be able to take time off and care for their new babies, and how important it is for parents to have the flexibility they need to be able to be there for their kids when they need to be. I was working full-time at the hospital bedside when I had my children, and the difficulties I faced as a working mom are baked into my experience of my profession and my life for the past 49 years as a nurse. We have a staffing crisis in the nursing workforce right now. Nurses are being subjected to dangerous working conditions. They harm our mental and physical health. And when, on top of impossible working conditions, we are not guaranteed paid time off to care for our loved ones or ourselves, it's no wonder we are seeing nurses leave the profession in droves. Paid sick leave and family leave is an essential part of ensuring that nursing becomes a sustainable profession, both for the experienced nurses we must retain at the bedside and for the new graduates joining them. As a union, we fight every day for nurses to be able to give the care we want to give, both to our patients and to our families. That's why we support these bills sponsored by Senator Gillibrand, Chairman Sanders, and Representative DeLauro, and we applaud them for their leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Ross. Next up, we have President Michael Baldwin of the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen.
Good morning. I think I can probably speak for all who are here with Rail today that it is relaxing to be among friends, be among people who have the same goals and the same issues that we deal with. So I thought I would share a little bit today with you about who we are as an organization, who we are as an industry, and what it is that we have faced. Many of you are very familiar with the freight railroads through the media over the past few months. So my name is Michael Baldwin. I'm the president of the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen. Our members are 10,000 strong across the country. They install, repair, maintain, inspect, and test railroad signal systems that control train movements and highway grade crossings that you drive across to protect you from accidents with trains. Rail labor in the freight industry is about 115 to 120,000 employees strong. A very large workforce, and they are an important part to the economy. So Senator Sanders has led a fight in Congress before to ensure paid sick days for our industry, for rail workers, and we appreciate those efforts. We firmly believe that his efforts are what brought the railroads to the table to talk to us about sick days. Now, that's a bargaining, and I don't know what you know about bargaining, but that generally means the other side wants something. We are still dealing with that. Senator Sanders mentioned 50,000 rail workers with 4 paid sick days, and that's great. That's an accomplishment, but we have a long way to go, and those 4 paid sick days fall far short from what is being introduced in this bill. And the importance of those days to our members and to our industry are great. Through COVID, rail labor saw a workforce that was sick. They came to work sick. They were deemed essential workers. They didn't have a choice. If you didn't go to work when you're sick, You could be disciplined, or you give up a day's pay. You've heard about that here today quite a bit. You know, we also face a mental health crisis in this country today, and our members, employers, believe that vacation time should be used when an employee is sick. Vacation is vacation. That's leisure time. That's time that you earn as an employee to take off and relax and recuperate. It should not be used, and it shouldn't be required that you use it for sick time. But just as a side note, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, you know, this is something that's on everybody's mind, and it has been for quite a while. Our industry, historically, many families were one income. You know, a railroad salary was something a family could live on. Today, many families in the railroad industry and America are two-income households. Well, guess what that means when somebody in the family gets sick? The individual who has sick time is going to have to take their sick time, and only one has it, or maybe nobody in the household has it. Parents without paid sick leave are more likely to send their kids to school sick. COVID, flu, strep, there's so many different things that can go around in a school. We joke in our household that it's a petri dish when our grandkids go to school and come home each day. Senator Sanders sees that there's a better way for you and your families moving forward. You know, employers that provide paid sick leave have a turnover, reduce a turnover by 25%. The railroads have been trying to figure out how to retain their current workers and to hire new ones. I would say that maybe if you offer some paid sick days, you might get people to stay. Yeah. And maybe actually want to work in the industry again. This is just a start, though. You know, paid sick days for our industry, there are many other issues to address, but this is an important one for sure. I want to thank Senator Sanders for spearheading this important legislation, as well as other members of Congress that have been here today. Also, you know, they have staffers that really work hard on this legislation, and we'd like to thank them today as well. My brothers and sisters across rail labor, thank you for being here today. Thank you for supporting the other causes of these other groups as they are supporting us as well. You know, we're all partnering here together for a common good. And I think that I feel really charged up here with this crowd. It's great. So I can tell you this, the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen will stand beside each one of these organizations all day, every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Baldwin. We are with your workers in their fight. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to everyone who showed up today. Thank you to Representative Rosa DeLauro and her staff, Senator Gillibrand, Leader Schumer, Senator Sanders, Senator Murray, all of our incredible speakers and advocates today. We have heard time and again how workers are working double duty, taking care of our families, going to our jobs, keeping our economy running, and each and every one of us is expecting our elected leaders over there to do their jobs and give us the sick days and paid leave that we deserve and that we need to do our job to keep this country running. So together we will win. Thank you so much, and huge thanks to Moms Rising and all the mamas and kids and parents who are here today celebrating with this amazing picnic. Please stick around, and thank you.